First, wanted to touch on this area of Bakhmut and why there's currently so much focus there from the Russians.
It's Bakhmut in the east. There's no real strategic or operational rationale behind why they're focused there, but they've been fighting to try and take Bakhmut now for weeks, in fact months, and we're currently on day 284 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation. And the Russians have been pouring lots and lots of more manpower, material, building their defences around there, and recently they've tried a three-axis attack, one just to the north, one into the city, and one which has had a little bit of success in the south as they try and encircle it. It's more becoming an emotional focus rather than a military focus, and actually I think Ukrainians are wanting that as well.
Let's touch on what's likely in the months ahead. Winter upon us. Is that a game changer for what's possible?
Winter is an influencer rather than a game changer. It's a game changer for the difference between the ability to attack and defend. The ground is very, very muddy, and we're seeing pictures here of a tank on some of the muddy ground. That doesn't reflect just how bad some of it is, and it gets to the point where even tracked vehicles can't get through it. And we saw that last year where the mud just sticks armoured vehicles into the ground. That stops armoured formations to manoeuvre in the way that you need to carry out an attack. It favours defenders, so it's favouring the Russians at the moment in the area, but it's stopping these large-scale attacks. So that's where the biggest influence comes in. Then you've got the cold and the damp and the wet. And if you've got the troops that are properly equipped, that can handle it, their morale is going to stay good. If you've got troops who aren't equipped and aren't getting fed and can't handle it, their morale is going to go down. That is where the Russians are, as opposed to the Ukrainians who've got the right kit.
But the Ukrainians very well prepared for the cold and the winter, or just less poorly prepared than the Russians?
Well, this is their country, this is their territory, so their military is used to working through these sorts of conditions. So from a psychological perspective, they're well prepared. From an environmental perspective, they've grown up and they've trained in all of this. Their motivation is keeping them going, and they've got Western equipment coming in, they're being resupplied, they're getting fed in many cases, whereas the Russians don't necessarily have the winter gear. There's so many stories going around about the troops not getting fed. When the temperatures get really low, believe me, it's morale sapping when you're in those conditions.
I can certainly imagine it. Let's talk about what the Ukrainians are doing to counter some of these, in recent weeks, Russian counteroffensive.
Yeah, well, they're blunting the Russian counteroffensives in Bakhmut, and that seems to be the only area that Russia's attacking. Ukraine's gone dark elsewhere. They've gone quiet. Remember, they've just had the success down in the south around Kherson. There have been reports of the last couple of days of Ukrainian troops getting to the other side of the river. That's them probing different areas. But if the Ukrainians can keep the Russians fixed in that central bit, it gives them freedom of manoeuvre elsewhere. What are the Ukrainians focusing on? They're focusing on shaping the battlefield. So they're attacking Russian logistics, impact on the winter, lack of food and everything else, and attacking their command and control so that the Russians haven't got the commanders, and they're very short of good commanders, haven't got the commanders to try and react to any Ukrainian counteroffensive that's going to come in when the ground allows it.